Welcome back to the channel JF Coin, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, their values, their hidden secrets, and the history that makes them so collectible. Today we are going to talk about a very special and highly desirable coin, the 1-cent 1970 Lincoln penny, a small copper coin that has captured the attention of collectors all around the world. This is not just any ordinary penny you might find at the bottom of your pocket or in an old jar at home. This is an ultra-valuable coin with a story, a history, and in some cases a market value that can rise as high as $442, sometimes even more depending on condition, rarity, and demand. The Lincoln penny has always held a special place in American coinage. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it replaced the Indian head cent and quickly became the most recognized coin in circulation. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent featured the iconic portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat ears on the reverse until 1958. Starting in 1959, the design changed to the Lincoln Memorial on the back, which was in circulation until 2008. The 1970 penny is part of that Lincoln Memorial design series, but there are details and varieties that make this year stand out. The year 1970 was an important time in U.S. history. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, social change was sweeping through the nation, and coin collecting was becoming increasingly popular. Millions of pennies were minted that year, but not all of them were exactly the same. Collectors know that small differences can mean big money, and the 1970 penny is proof of that. Now let's talk about varieties, which is where things get really exciting. The most famous and most sought-after variety of the 1970 penny is the 1970s small date penny. The S mint mark stands for San Francisco Mint, and during that year, both small date and large date designs were struck. The small date variety is much scarcer and far more desirable to collectors. At first glance, the differences can be subtle. On the small date, the top of the number 7 in 1970 appears level with the rest of the digits, and the overall date looks slightly lighter and thinner. On the large date variety, the number 7 appears lower and thicker. Collectors who can identify these details have a chance to find a treasure right in their change. Another exciting feature of the 1970 penny is the double die obverse. This is an error variety where the design elements, especially the date and the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, appear double due to a mistake during the minting process. The 1970s double die penny is one of the most famous Lincoln cent errors of all time. In high grades, these coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Imagine finding one of those in circulation. That tiny 1-cent coin could suddenly be worth a small fortune. The market value of the 1970 penny depends on several key factors. Condition is everything in coin collecting. Coins are graded on a scale from poor all the way up to mint state, with MS65, MS66, and higher being the most prized. A well-worn penny may only be worth a cent or a few dollars, but a pristine mint state small date or double die variety can be worth hundreds of dollars, and that is where the figure of $442 comes in. That is the market value some collectors have paid for a gem-quality 1970 penny. When you consider how many pennies pass through people's hands every single day without a second thought, it makes the hunt for these rare varieties even more thrilling. It is a reminder that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. You do not have to be a millionaire to get started in coin collecting. All it takes is curiosity, a sharp eye, and a little bit of knowledge. Checking your 1970 pennies could turn a handful of loose change into a valuable discovery. Collectors also love the history behind these coins. The 1970 penny is made primarily of copper, as the United States had not yet switched to the copper-plated zinc composition that began in 1982. This means the coin itself already has intrinsic value due to its metal content, But it is the rarity and varieties that drive up the true collector market price. The San Francisco small date penny especially stands out as one of the must-have coins in any Lincoln cent collection. In recent years, auction houses and online marketplaces have seen strong demand for these coins. A 1970s small date penny in mint state condition has sold for several $100s, with some double die-up worth examples reaching into the thousands. Collectors know that as time passes, these coins become harder to find in top condition, and that scarcity pushes prices even higher. That is why the market value continues to remain strong, and why so many coin enthusiasts keep searching. If you are lucky enough to come across a 1970 penny, the first thing you should do is carefully check the date and mint mark. Look closely at the style of the numbers, especially the 7. Then examine the inscriptions for any doubling. If you believe you may have one of these special varieties, it is always a good idea to have the coin professionally graded and authenticated by a trusted service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can make a huge difference in the coin's final value and make it easier to sell to serious collectors. The story of the 1970 Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how coin collecting is not just about money but also about history, art, and discovery. From the portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed over a century ago, to the small details that separate a common coin from a rare treasure, every penny has a story to tell. And sometimes, that story comes with a big reward, so next time you come across a handful of change, do not overlook those pennies. That little copper coin dated 1970 might just be one of the most valuable finds of your life. With a market value that can reach $442 or more, it is proof that treasure hunting is still possible in everyday life. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of the 1970 1-cent Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed learning about the history, the varieties, and the amazing value of this coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends who might also have a passion for coins. Who knows, maybe one of them has a 1970 penny sitting in a drawer that could be worth a fortune. Keep collecting, keep searching, and never stop exploring the hidden gems of American coinage. Do you want me to also make a second version that is even longer with more details about coin grading, auction records, and historical mint production numbers so you can pick the best for your video? Today we are going to talk about one of the most interesting and highly collected pennies in American coinage history, the 1971 Lincoln cent. This 1-cent coin may look ordinary to most people, but hidden within its copper shine lies a story of history, minting changes, rare errors, and surprisingly high value in the coin collecting market. Believe it or not, certain examples of the 1971 Lincoln penny have been valued as high as $442 or even more depending on the grade, condition, and rarity of the piece. So let's go on this journey together to uncover why the 1971 penny is not just a simple coin in your pocket but a true treasure for collectors. First, let's begin with the background of the Lincoln cent. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic design. It was designed by Victor David Brenner and instantly became popular with the American public. From 1909 through 1958, the reverse design featured 2 wheat stalks, which gave those coins the nickname wheat pennies. Then in 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and the 50th anniversary of the coin, the reverse design was changed to show the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This memorial design continued from 1959 all the way until 2008. The coin we are focusing on today, the 1971 penny, belongs to this Lincoln Memorial series. Now let's look at the coin itself. The obverse side features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing to the right with the word Liberty to the left side, and the year of mintage, 1971, on the right. Above his head we see the national motto "In God We Trust." On the reverse side is the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo, which many people overlook. If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a beautiful detail often missed by the casual observer. The words United States of America stretch across the top, E pluribus unum sits above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent is written boldly across the bottom. But what makes the 1971 penny so special and valuable? The answer lies in minting variations, condition, and error coins. The 1971 Lincoln cent was struck in large numbers. Over 5.5 billion were minted across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Most of these coins are common in circulated grades, but the true value comes from coins in uncirculated condition, proof issues, and rare double-die varieties. The Philadelphia mint struck coins without a mint mark, Denver coins carry the letter D, and San Francisco produced both circulation strikes and proof coins with the S mint mark. Among these, one of the most sought-after varieties is the 1971 double-die obverse penny. On this variety you can clearly see doubling on the inscriptions such as Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1971. These doubling errors are dramatic and highly prized by collectors because they were caused by mistakes in the die-making process. If you happen to find a strong double-die 1971 penny, especially in higher grades, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds of dollars. In fact, some examples in superb uncirculated condition have sold for over $400, with reports of prices climbing as high as $442 or more in the coin market. Now let us talk about the metal composition. In 1971 the penny was still made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it a weight of 3.11 grams. This is important because just a few years later in 1982 the composition changed to mostly zinc with a thin copper coating, making the earlier copper cents much more desirable not only for their collectability but also for their intrinsic metal value. That's why many collectors today hold pre-1982 copper pennies. Another fascinating detail about the 1971 penny is the proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. These proofs were specially made for collectors with highly polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. Some proof pennies from 1971 display cameo or deep cameo contrast, where the frosted design elements stand out beautifully against the shiny fields. These proof coins in top grades are very valuable, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of dollars depending on the quality. Collectors love the 1971 penny not only for its rarity in certain varieties but also for the history it represents. The early 1970s was a turbulent time in American history, with events such as the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement continuing, and major cultural shifts. Holding a 1971 penny is like holding a piece of that era, a small reminder of what everyday life was like in the United States more than 50 years ago. When it comes to grading and value, condition is everything. A worn 1971 penny found in pocket change might only be worth its face value of 1 cent. But if you find a mint state example with bright original luster and no scratches or wear, the value skyrockets. Coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified high-grade examples that sold at auctions for hundreds of dollars. The record prices are usually reserved for the double-die obverse variety, but even regular 1971 pennies in pristine condition can fetch strong prices from dedicated collectors. So how can you tell if your 1971 penny is valuable? First, check the mint mark. If it has no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. If there is a D, it's from Denver. If you see an S, it's from San Francisco. Next, look closely at the obverse lettering and date for signs of doubling. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe is very helpful. If you see strong doubling, you may have one of the valuable varieties. Also pay attention to the coin's condition. bright red uncirculated coins are worth much more than brown or heavily circulated ones. Proof coins with cameo contrast are also very desirable. The coin collecting market today is very active, and Lincoln cents are among the most popular series collected. Because of their availability and long history, they appeal to beginners and advanced collectors alike. The 1971 penny stands out as a coin with hidden potential. While most are still just worth a penny, the rare ones can sell for hundreds of dollars, making it one of those coins that keeps treasure hunters and collectors constantly checking their change. In conclusion, the 1971 Lincoln cent is much more than just a common 1-cent coin. It carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the artistry of Victor David Brenner and Frank Gasparro, the history of early 1970s America, and the excitement of rare minting errors. With a market value reaching as high as $442 or even higher for the rarest examples, this little coin proves that great value can come from the smallest treasures. So the next time you come across a 1971 penny, take a closer look. It might just be the Ultra Lincoln penny that turns out to be worth a lot of money. Thank you for joining me in today's deep dive into the 1971 1-cent coin. If you enjoyed learning about this Ultra Lincoln penny and want to discover more hidden treasures in U.S. coinage, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another exciting episode. Who knows, the next coin in your pocket could be worth a fortune. Do you want me to also add a catchy YouTube video title and description for this script so it's ready for upload? Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in American coinage history, the 1978 Lincoln cent. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, the penny from 1978? With AD mint mark, that small copper-colored coin that almost everyone has seen, is that really worth money? Is it really worth hundreds of dollars? Well, today I am going to take you through the entire journey of this incredible coin, the design, the history, the composition, the minting, the special errors, and, of course, the jaw-dropping market values that have shocked collectors all around the world. Let's begin with the basics. The 1978 Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you see that tiny D mint mark just beneath the date. Denver produced over 4.28 billion pennies that year, making it seem like a very common issue at first glance. But here's the thing, not all coins are created equal, and that is where rarity and value come in. The design of the coin is iconic. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, proudly appears on the obverse or front side of the coin. This portrait by Victor David Brenner first appeared in 1909 to mark the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse of the 1978 penny, we still find the famous Lincoln Memorial, which was designed by Frank Gasparro. This is before the transition in 2009 to the Union Shield design, and for many collectors the Lincoln Memorial reverse has become a symbol of mid-20th century American coinage. Now let's talk about composition. These coins are made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This is important because in 1982 the United States Mint changed the composition of the cent to primarily zinc with only a thin copper coating. The 1978 penny still belongs to that classic copper era, which makes it more desirable to collectors who love the rich look and feel of true copper coinage. But what about value? You might say millions were minted billions. Even so, why are people paying hundreds of dollars for one? Well, it all comes down to condition, rarity, and error. Types coins that have survived in pristine condition, known as mint state, are incredibly hard to find because pennies circulate heavily in everyday commerce. The vast majority of these coins are scratched, dented, worn down, and tarnished. A high-grade example from 1978 that looks almost brand new with full red luster and sharp details can sell for a lot of money. Now listen carefully. In top-graded condition, some 1978 pennies have shocked the market. Certified mint state 67 red examples have been auctioned for over $400, and certain rare cases with unique die errors have reached even higher. In fact, the current market record shows prices climbing around $442 For the very best specimens, that's right, a single penny that you could have in your change jar right now might be worth over $400. If it is the right one, so what kind of errors and varieties should you be looking for? Well, collectors often search for double dice, where the lettering or numbers appear slightly doubled. Another valuable feature is a repunched mint mark, also called RPM, where the D mint mark was punched more than once, leading to a double look on the mint mark, sometimes striking issues like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clipped planchets make a coin highly collectible. And do not forget about full red designation coins that still retain their fiery red copper tone are valued far above brown or tone examples. Another fascinating point about the 1978D penny is that it comes right at the end of an era. By the early 1980s, copper prices were rising so high that the US Mint had to switch compositions. That means these late 1970s pennies are the last affordable copper issues before the change. They represent a turning point in American coinage history. Now let's imagine for a moment you're searching through a box of old coins, maybe in your attic, or you're sorting through a jar of change that has been sitting in the kitchen for decades. You spot a 1978 penny with that little D mint mark under the date. Most people would pass it off as just another common cent, but a careful collector might recognize a gem. The luster is bright, the fields are clean, the details sharp, no scratches nowhere, no discoloration. That coin might just be one of those ultra-rare pieces that sell for hundreds of dollars. The coin collecting community has been buzzing about these ultra-high-grade 1978D cents because they are so difficult to find. Many experts believe that most of the high-quality coins from this year were immediately put into circulation, which is why surviving mint state examples are so rare. When one surfaces at an auction, it creates a bidding war among collectors who are eager to add it to their set. So let me share with you some real market insights. A 1978D Lincoln cent graded MS67 red by PCGS has sold for over $442. Lesser examples graded MS66 can bring between $50 and $100, and even coins in the MS65 range still attract collectors who might pay $20 to $30 for a single penny. Think about that for a second. A coin with a face value of just 1 cent trading for $30 or $400 or more. That's the magic of numismatics, and the story does not stop there. Coins with striking errors can reach insane values. For example, if you find a 1978D penny with an off-center strike where part of the design is missing, you might be holding something worth hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the error. If you spot a double die reverse where the words 1 cent or United States of America show doubling, you could be looking at another treasure. So what should you do if you find one of these coins? First, keep it safe, handle it carefully by the edges, never touch the surfaces because fingerprints can lower the grade. Second, consider having it professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGCA certified. Grade not only proves authenticity, but also maximizes the coin's value in the market. Collectors love the 1978D penny because it combines history, beauty, and the thrill of the hunt. Abraham Lincoln's legacy immortalized in copper, the last years before the great composition change, and the possibility that a tiny coin from your pocket could be worth a small fortune. That is what keeps people fascinated with coins and keeps this hobby alive. So the next time you come across a 1978D Lincoln cent, don't dismiss it as ordinary. Take a closer look. You might just have a gem hiding in plain sight. And remember, in coin collecting, knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more treasures you discover. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey through the world of the 1978D Lincoln cent. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to see more videos about rare and valuable coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn about coins that could be worth a fortune. Would you like me to also create a shorter version of this script that's optimized for fast-paced YouTube videos under 5 minutes, so you have both a long-form and a short-form version?